Hi, my name's Jessie. I'm 34 years old and I am a photographer and a life modelling coach. This is my testimonial for Elle McBride. I met Elle through my business coach Jessica Palmer, and it's pretty obvious to me now that she came into my life at a really critical time. So I was facing some big challenges, starting a new business and growing the photography business, overcoming some personal and relationship traumas that had recently affected me. And essentially I was finding that I was unable to do the things that I needed to do for my business, the things that my business coach was helping me to identify, because I was running into emotional and psychological blockages that just wouldn't let me act. So a lot of those weren't new things, but it was getting to the point where I was starting to doubt that I'd be able to go forward and that I would need to settle for a life that I really wasn't very happy with. So when I met Elle, I had never heard of havening before. I wondered sort of where it had come from, and I did a bit of reading. Essentially, I was immediately convinced by the science. So I'm quite an analytical person. I wouldn't say that I'm terribly scientific, but I'm very logical. And the neuroscience behind havening was very convincing for me. So combining that with meeting Elle and just the energy that she exudes, it's very confidence building. So just meeting her, you can tell that she is living her purpose. This really is her gift. So I was also really amazed by the fact that she said that the technique would work even if I chose not to disclose exactly what it was that I was havening, so I could still do the work without having to express that to her. So I've done a few different cognitive behavioural therapies, mindfulness techniques, things like that, to try and help me with these same things, which are essentially a really deep-seated sense of guilt and shame that I couldn't fully understand. I could partially analytically understand it, but then there was a big part there that was completely mysterious to me, and that was the part that I needed help with, because no matter what I did, it would always come back. I could keep it at bay for a while, and it would come back and pretty much sabotage what I was trying to do. So in the end, I chose to disclose to Elle exactly what I was working on, and it was really easy to do that. I've had therapists before. I felt bad for making them feel sad. I felt like they weren't able to handle the things that I told them, or that they were judging me. And I felt none of those things with Elle. So she took everything in her stride. And I think part of that is that she is quite open about, on one hand, being a product of the power of havening herself. She's done the work. She understands how it works and the changes that it can achieve. But she's also very human and very humble about that. So she will sometimes share personal insights when they're relevant to the technique, and I found that I really liked that. I felt that I was able to relate to her experiences, and that made me more confident in the technique overall. What else? I would say a few things about the way Elle does havening. I haven't done havening with any other practitioners, so I can't make a comparison, but I can say the way she does it seems very natural. So I never felt like she was trying terribly hard to put on a performance for me. It came to her very naturally. She has a lot of natural compassion and empathy, and this is just exercised by being able to use the havening technique. So she also has this amazing, mesmerizing voice. So you can pretty much just listen to her talk for the fun of it. But I think that does add a lot to her as a havening practitioner. listening to the recordings that she made customized recordings for me based on our earlier sessions that I can then use on an ongoing basis. So that makes the value of what I get from Elle tenfold, because I can listen to those whenever I want and they're targeted for me. That was really important to me. I felt like I was getting much more than just the 4 sessions that I had purchased as part of her package. I also felt I was amazed when we first had a conversation. She said that people are surprised how quickly it happens. And I was like, yeah, I'll be surprised, because I've worked on this stuff a bit before and I haven't just put a dent in it, but it hasn't been sustainable. So, this is a really tough one. And even I saw results after the first session, again after the second session. I'm at the end of the process with Elle now, and she has been absolutely astounding in the way she's tailored it to the fact that I've gone overseas in the middle of our work. So we've done things over Skype and over video conferencing and things like that. So I'm continuing this journey, but her flexibility is really very much appreciated. So I don't feel like I've lost the opportunity because I needed to go away when I did. I'm also really glad that I didn't put it off until I got home. So yeah, it's made a big difference to what I'm able to achieve on this trip. I did want to mention Elle's lack of ego makes her very able to collaborate with other practitioners. So sometimes I find if I meet someone who's very passionate about what they do, they get quite blinkered to how it's the way and the only way to help people, and I don't think that's the case. So Elle's very open to people having other wellbeing activities or even other therapists in their life and tailoring a solution. So she's focused on you achieving the result rather than her winning an accolade for some change that she's achieved in you. You're not a product. She's very interested in those collaborations and works really well with other people. What else? Those are the main things that I'd like to say. I really do recommend both havening and Elle, but particularly Elle as a havener. She's very experienced. She's very dedicated to it. It's obvious that this is something that she believes in continuously improving in her own skill set and her own practices. So I think that every amount of time that I spend with her, I'm getting a huge amount of value. And I think that every new client she gets, she learns more and brings that back to her other clients. So even when I'm done with this intensive stage, which has helped me amazingly, my default position has moved from one, as I said, of severe shame and guilt to the point that I was continually distracting and continually masking that just to get through a day, to feeling like that has been lifted, and that I'm now able to go from havening as a healing technique, and our conversations are now more about performance. So it's going forward, and that's awesome. I think that it can do that whole spectrum. You don't just come to havening if you feel that something is broken and you need healing. It can be a performance mechanism as well, because we've all got limitations and beliefs that are holding us back from doing as much as we could. So even when I'm finished this four session program, I will keep a connection with Elle, so that not only she's taught me things that I can haven myself, she's given me an independence in that sense, but the respect that I have for her, I think that I'll always have a need to just plug back in when particular challenges come back up. So yeah, I would recommend Elle to anyone who has a genuine desire to change something, whether that be a healing sense or a performance sense. I can't recommend her highly enough. Thanks.